Meeting to order at 5:03. Did you both get a chance to review the minutes of the last meeting?
I did. Motion made to accept the minutes of the previous meeting. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's signed for you, Terry.
Okay.
The warrants have been signed, you're still working
No,
on the
second, one
abatements.
more packet left.
Okay. We'll go to Rick after, when we get here. Wayne, PFAS, vote to authorize treasurer collector to act on behalf of the water commissioners. Warren.
I don't understand why he asked that, because at town meeting you authorized him to borrow, but for some reason, this time he's asking for you to, maybe because he sees all the other funding things that are occurring around it, but and all the other articles in the time that I've done this, he's never asked for that. So I think he's just covering,
I think maybe it's because of the different program, he has to have a special authorization.
no, because basically we were required by all of the people with the grants to have the program fully funded for the 4 million.
Yeah.
Which is like any other article, but this time he's asked for you to authorize him to borrow. So I don't know whether he's getting ready, but we're not looking, usually you don't borrow the whole thing. He's authorized to spend the 4 million, or up to the 4 million, but we borrow until we finish the project, and then he goes out and he borrows the whole amount and it sets the terms. In the meantime, we just pay on what we've borrowed getting to the end point. So it's weird that he asked that, but he did ask it, so that's why it made it to the agenda.
Again, it might be the way that this particular program works too. This is the PFAS money that they.
Right, and there's things happening all around it. There's the lawsuit, there's the ARPA money, then there's the state's money, so there's money around. I haven't been able to get everyone to the end point yet. I have the short term to the end point, but the long term, I just sent her an email prodding her on, where it was at. But that's for the ARPA part of it. The state, I have to figure out where they're at, and then I'll prod them. But I'm trying to, because we're actively moving on that project, I'd rather spend free money than money.
So would we.
Right.
So would you like to make
I'll make a motion that we authorize the town accountant on behalf of the...
town treasurer collector?
Oh, town treasurer collector.
Yeah.
Act on behalf of the water commissioners to borrow the funding required for the PFAS project. Second.
Any further discussion? Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Only thing when you put it in, Kerry, that's behalf, LF, not VE.
I know, I
Okay.
didn't, I was on vacation last week. I
Oh, that
didn't
was
do
Wayne?
No.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't, it was
Okay,
Alicia.
never mind.
My spelling's even worse.
Yeah.
All right, 102 West Center Street, updated water service?
So, I think he's in Florida or something. I just realized the new laptop does not have an HDMI output.
Oh, so you can't connect.
Yeah, so I'll have to figure out what device I've got to buy to do that. So he wants to sell the building that has 102 on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wants to sell the front half and keep the back half. So he wants to put a separate water service. So I cautioned him that we need to be able to lien something if somebody doesn't pay their water bill. So I don't know whether he's selling it as a condo. Truly, he needs to be here to explain
Yeah.
the questions I can't answer. But he already has a separate water service for the other building there you see off to the right. 'cause
Yeah,
that's his
separate
building.
building.
Right.
But he owns that one too, doesn't he?
Yeah. And he plans on building something else to the right of it.
But he wants to,
But he
Sell
wants to
the top of
split
the-
the older part, yeah.
I think you have to do it as a condo.
I think so. So he wants to split 102.
Yes. Which truly, the back half was an addition to it anyways. He added on that multi-story
Oh,
part.
that's right. So should we have him at our next meeting?
I would say just table it until he can come in and,
All right.
well, and give us the details. because-
Right. Yeah.
Rick.
Table it. Yeah, we'll go on to the next meeting. Hi, Rick. Welcome back.
Yeah.
All right, I told Donnie 5:30, so I don't know if you wanna wait for him to get here to do Rick's presentation. I told Rick 5:30 too, he's just a weird.
Okay, no, that's fine.
I
Unless
just
you're in a
wanna-
rush to get out. We'll move on to the next item then, which is the appeal of that ZBA decision for Zero Matfield. You have a copy of it in front of you. I was told it was filed in time, and that attorney is George Field. And I talked to you Hurley at the planning board, he says they've used him before, and went well. Said it was a good person to have. So now we basically just have to wait until the court comes back and says what's going on with it. The ZBA can respond, but I guess they don't have to. So we might not hear anything back from them on it until it goes further. They can't do any work until
The appeal is.
the appeal is heard and settled. They may be able to go to the planning board, but I doubt the planning board is gonna appeal it gonna rule on it while it's under appeal. So, for now, that's kind of where it's at. Wayne, while I think about it, if you can have Deb, when she's in, get the aerials of the site to show where the work extended onto our property.
All right.
And came, so we should have, hopefully we can find photos from before.
Yeah, we still
And-
have those.
Yeah, want to just make sure we have those available, get those. We don't need to do anything about this now, but that's something we want to have. Because that was one of our issues with it. All right. Stations 1, 2, and 4.
So the VFDs have arrived, and they were trying to install them, I believe, this week, so I had to tell them that they couldn't do it. But then I asked them back, how long did they feel that they would be offline once they start the work? I can't have them start the work, and then the thing stays down for another year.
Yeah.
So I need them to be coordinated when they come in with Mike, our instrument guy, because they could do the electrical work, but everybody needs to be here at the same time so that we get to test it and make sure that it works, and then I'm not down and dead again. So I haven't heard back from him. I saw the email go out to Mike, and then I didn't hear any or see anything more out of it.
So you haven't heard back from Fall River or from Mike?
Right. But I know both drives have arrived somewhere. I mean, they can do, I'm sure they don't want to come out, but they can start doing part of the work.
Yeah, yeah, they probably want to come out and do it all. in one
Right,
shot.
Right.
So hopefully we'll get back to you quick.
Yep. Well, I'll push on them, but we need Manley to come back up first. And I sampled Manley today, so those samples went out. And we'll see what comes back. I won't hear until late tomorrow.
But they put the wells back in and clean them, everything
Yep.
was cleaned out. And
Yeah.
you've been talking to DEP as far
Yep.
as.
Yeah,
So we're all set when it comes back, if it comes back clean?
Well, they don't want me to, they just warned me that even if the samples come back clean, don't go back online until I speak to them.
Okay.
How long does that usually take?
So it's just a matter of the samples coming back, so it's a 24-hour sample, so I'll know tomorrow, you know, it depends upon when the lab puts them in, but I could hear as early as noontime, or, you know.
And the guy is prompt as returning, getting back to you for,
Yeah, they were really quick, actually.
okay. Thanks.
And how about the work that they were doing over there?
So they have begun working on the short-term solution. They have the pipe, they hooked up the filter, they did the cut-ins while the plant was down, so that my testing, I don't have to shut down to test again for them opening up the pipe. So that'll take care of that. They began to run the pipe, and the pipe is hitting the supports. So they're fabricating new supports for the existing pipe. So that's what they were doing today.
So the measurements weren't quite right.
That's correct. They could have swung things differently, but they didn't, so it ran a collision course with about 5 supports right down the line.
At least it's progress.
Yep.
Oh, and so you guys know, Wayne and I met with Jim and Jen Raza from Tater and Howard since the last meeting to kind of go over what's going on for all the projects. And right now, James is scheduled to come to the next meeting
Yeah, I'll put it in.
with all updates of what we're gonna do. They're gonna have some plans set up for the long term, because we have to start approving that stuff so they can go through the design, because we have to bid it by, was it end of October?
Yeah, like
End of
October 13th, I think.
Yeah.
Somehow that date is sticking in my
So
mind.
to keep that going, that's what we kind of sat down with them for, and they'll have the updated stuff. We'll be getting it emailed to us ahead of the meeting. She'll, have some fun weekend reading to do. And look at that stuff. But they are pushing it, so they are moving along with it.
Yeah, they understand that they're in a time constraint. If their proposal is putting a separate, instead of attaching to the building would be moved off to the side somewhat.
So it wouldn't be directly connected to the existing building?
Correct.
No, but all they're saying should be in there is the filter, the actual
the two
units
PFAS
themselves, no
stuff.
chemical systems, nothing else, so.
So it doesn't really require anything except the influent effluent to the tanks.
But they'll have layouts and sizes and all of that stuff
Okay.
for the next meeting. Right, update on the replacement well.
Well, that's the variable frequency drives.
So we're still just,
Yeah, I need Manly back, and then I need to push them that they're all connected when they show up, that they don't take my station down and then it dies with finger pointing again.
how are we doing on demand right now?
So I can tell you, I looked back through the records, so June, I was kind of the worst production for about 5 years running. We produced the least amount of water, but on the days that the sun did shine, when people turned on their sprinkler system, something fierce, and we spiked 1 million gallons each time. So they're still the biggest threat to tipping our system over quality-wise. And the fact that I have no way to shut them down, like when we had the big leak, there's no way to reach them people and say, hey, don't water your grass,
Yeah.
we have an issue. There's no way to shut them down. And they don't listen to reason because they're not adhering to the restrictions. They just want to squawk and point fingers at the construction on Lincoln Street and wonder why they can use water.
Well, we can't do an awful lot about that, but we can maybe start making, when we look at the rates the next time,
Well, there's a municipality vulnerability grant that the town had access to this past year, and they didn't listen to the criteria for it, so they didn't get the grant, but it comes out every year, so I'm gonna go after it next year, and I'm gonna try to get portable signs to put out, the big flashing billboards,
yeah,
to see if I can purchase them under it.
so instead of just having,
Right, instead of,
But
posting
still,
things
if
on
it-
Facebook, if I can move signs around from place to place.
park it in certain people's
Right.
driveways.
I mean, if you see a sign show up in the middle of your cul-de-sac or neighborhood, there's a reason that sign's there.
That's a good idea, though. That's part of the issue. People aren't aware, they'll drive by the sign and get sign fatigue and they won't even pay
Right.
attention to it.
But if this big billboard shows up suddenly.
Yeah.
Especially if you get them for free.
Right, and that's what I'm gonna go after. I can't this year because they already had their shot at it, and it's too late to apply this year.
Right, Walnut Street tank.
We're lowering the level in it currently. So it may take a few days to get it down. I wish it would be instant because we have some rain coming up. That's an ideal time to turn on, open it up to fill it again.
We'll make some progress anyway.
Yeah.
Get that back. Okay. Let's see, Oak Hill Way, we've already talked about under the ZBA decision. Anything new on the solar?
I have not heard anything from them. The last I knew, they were working towards an end report. And I haven't heard.
Yes, that's been the same answer the last couple.
I'll prod them.
Thought about putting up a new job posting?
Linda asked me, I mean, we can do it again. I just need to find a better way. I'm tired of looking at the
The same people.
applicants
Yeah.
that shouldn't be applying that do apply. And I don't know whether just to write, I think that the thing auto responds, like if you have an application up there and it finds a keyword, it automatically sends out your resume to it, which is not any good. So maybe put in the wording that I want it a specific way. If it's not, it's going straight in the trash bucket. And, you know, I've done that before and a couple of people read it and most do not.
Can have Linda screen them for you, for some of them, if it doesn't work out, so you're not getting that whole pile.
I mean, I can.
It comes through her anyway, right? It doesn't
Right.
come direct to you.
Yeah, and then she just forwards them to us.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't take me that long to screen them, but it just seems like a waste of time when you're obviously not qualified in any way, shape, or form.
I don't think those things actually care about that. They
I know,
basically look-
they just,
You know, somebody says, well, take any job, it just applies to, applies to everything.
but I'll have her run it for 2 weeks and we'll see what comes of it.
What does it run on? Does it run on Indeed?
What was that?
Is it Indeed?
I think so, yeah.
Indeed, she runs it on the municipal,
She runs it on the municipal and then she runs it on Indeed also.
yeah, I think it doesn't hurt to get it back out there. We're getting towards the end of summer,
Yep.
did the fall, maybe someone will pick up on it. ARPA grant, did you say earlier you've got that one?
So the short term is all set. That one's for 100,000, so I'm waiting to see what the media costs, so I can, you know, I don't send him 42 little things, that I can hit him with something big.
Yeah.
But I'll make sure I get to him.
We still don't have anything on the media.
No, and on the long term, I just prodded her again, and she said that she'd prod them.
Okay, water rates. How are the current ones doing so far?
I haven't heard any complaints. I mean, a few people have called, you know. Well, you get, some residents see that they're $3 higher on their water bill and they call, and that's what we usually get. We haven't heard anything more. It's just that when people hit the excess, then they, you know, well, you used $5 more than I did the previous billing. I mean, things,
More water.
right.
Conserve.
Most people, like, they don't understand the excess charge, they just think
Right.
they're getting charged an excess charge, they don't understand that if you go over the 750, that's when it becomes.
Right.
You know, so then I'll explain when your water usage was like 770, it was 20, you know, over the 750. Oh, okay, they just think they're just getting a surcharge for $2.58, and they don't know why, or whatever the amount would be, you know, they don't really understand it to explain it.
How did that number, the basic charge and the usage come up? How did you come up with that number many years ago?
So I didn't, but we have somebody who for very many years has some knowledge in this area. We could probably draw on his wealth of knowledge if he hasn't forgotten.
What the,
So how much, like the basic amount of water that we charge, how did you come up with that cubic feet or gallonage?
well, it started out, we used to allow a lot more water in the beginning. I don't know how many cubic feet, it was a lot of water under the basic charge.
Yeah.
So very few people went into excess. But as we had to raise the rates, we had to raise more money as the budgets went up. We cut back the amount of water that could be allowed under the, I think we used to charge $15 a half.
But how much water is that? I mean, how did you determine the, like, isn't it DEP on a system, they say it's 55 gallons per gallon? 50
Oh, we did, none of those
per
numbers
second.
were, we took those into, we didn't have to take them into consideration because these rates were all set long before DEP had it, and DEP even existed. So we were doing this long before that.
But almost every town has the same kind of thing. You're
Right.
allotted X amount of water, and then some have two
I-
tiers like us, some have 3 or 4 tiers. And
And I will tell you that the reason why the rates got changed the way they did over the years was people coming in and sitting in front of the board complaining. And so we tweeted with the rate accordingly. And some of the things were when we went to like a 2-family house or a 3-family house or a 4-family house, they complained that they weren't allowed enough water to take care of 3 or 4 families in a house. So they were in excess all the time. So what we did is we said, okay, we'll make the basic charge bigger for each house and for each unit.
Yeah.
And then we'll allow you less water than like a single family house because each unit, they don't have outside water. Only one unit would have the outside water and the owner of the building would have the outside water. So that's how those adjustments came along because people would get, and we'd look at them and say, yeah, that's a little ridiculous. We'd look at the bill and say, yeah, you're right, you know, you couldn't use that much water. So we tweeted with it. People were happy with it, and until something else went wrong as you raised the rates, something went out of kilter, then people would come in again and would tweet it again. So that's how you got the rate the way they are now. They were just all by customers. You know.
Over years, with their input at meetings and then the board at that time
Trying to solve
would,
problems.
yeah.
And sometimes you look at the problem, and they're right. It is a problem. And you didn't see it because you're looking at 2,700 bills, and, you know, there's 15 of them out there that are in that situation, and you don't pick up on it, so. But the homeowner picks up on it when they see it, so you just adjust it.
Yeah.
You know, you figure out what you did wrong.
And we'll be adjusting again as all this stuff that we're gonna be having to pay for is gonna start hitting, that we have to pay for it. And it has to come back through, you know, we're getting everything we can for free and as cheap a loans as we can get, but you still have to, you know, the rates will still have to
You're gonna pay the
change.
fiddler.
I always use the story of the Mrs. Millette when she got up at town meeting and she didn't want to pay for the new well because she already bought the well, her well was paid for, and she was doing just fine. And we said, well, the contractor down the street is building houses and we gotta have more water. She says, well, do you suppose that contractor's gonna stop by the house and I'm gonna share in the profits? We all laughed and said, I don't think so. And she said, well, I think town meeting ought to vote against it because we don't need more water. He needs more water, we don't. So the town meeting voted the well down. So we all came back to the meeting like this, we sat down and said, she's right. The town doesn't need more water, the contractor does, so we went back to the contractor and said, we're gonna have to put a moratorium on building, or come up with a tie-in fee.
Yeah.
And they were all in agreement, all the contractors said, hey, if you put a moratorium on, I gotta build a well, and I'm gonna have to pay like, $1,200, $2,000 for a well and treatment systems, and I own the system for a whole year. I'd much rather pay you and have you worry about it. So that nobody had a problem, the contractors all paid the tie-in fees, that's how we came up with all those tie-in fees.
Thanks to Mrs. Millet on East Street.
Yeah, it was just, and it was just people, input, and sometimes you get ticked off at a town meeting when they chop your legs out from under you, and then when you get looking at it, you say, they're right.
Still doesn't feel any better to get your legs chopped.
No,
off
I
from
know,
that town meeting.
you're right. But you make changes and that's the way,
Good, you coming
we
down?
kind of backed into a lot of these things that we do today.
Well, we can't please all the people all the time,
Right.
so.
Yeah.
just have
we
to-
could-
No?
Well,
We're trying.
Well, a lot of
You do-
people
you do your
came
best.
in that we just showed them
Yeah,
the door
yes.
and that was it,
But sometimes they have a point.
But sometimes they're right.
That's all right.
See, we already killed the stuff, the piece on doing the new service times,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that can come off the agenda from now on.
No, it's,
Sounds like Donna's not.
Yeah.
Water restrictions, you've got the signs posted, I've been seeing them, and they're
Yep.
still on.
It's still up, yeah.
Yeah. Want to mention for the camera what our current restrictions are, just so anybody that watches knows?
No, not really, but.
no,
well, it's the number of the house, odd and even.
It's
from
odd
5
and
to 9.
even, match to the calendar day, match to the odd and even address. Between 5 PM and 9 AM, you're allowed to use water if you're an odd or an even day to water your lawn.
Simple.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wayne.
Yeah.
So Kerry, is he coming?
yeah,
Oh, he is, okay.
he is.
Can you always water your vegetables?
So you guys didn't really, it's more pointed towards the sprinkler systems which drain on the system. I don't remember us ever saying, it's pointed at sprinkler systems more than anything else.
So,
I hope so, cause I have a vegetable garden, haven't had to water it much,
No,
but,
this year.
and the tomato plants have just died because they got too much water.
Yeah.
Yeah, all my tomatoes split.
Yeah, and that's what's tapped, they'll split and rotted. And
I've gotten a couple calls today about power washing.
I mean, other things that, a power wash does not use a lot of water because it's atomized when they're using the power washer. I mean, if they're going out there with the hose, even with the hose, you'd still have a spray nozzle on it. You're not putting a hose down, letting it run down the street.
Depending on how long they're running it for and
Right,
how leaky the connection is to the washer.
right. It's more pointed at just
Yeah.
the lawn care. I get it. I mean, it looks nice to have a nice lush green lawn, but truly it's excessive what they're putting down. From what I've read, my lawn I don't water. And unfortunately, I'm mowing it like twice a week.
No.
I'm hating this year.
No, we can't, I'm surprised we can have them high days, because we almost never have had
It's
a dry
almost,
period. It's
I know,
every day or
but
two we're getting rain.
and I should have downloaded, but you could see it, like the minute it stops, you go jump right back up to 1 million gallons.
But we've been able to keep up.
Yeah. Yeah, we've actually had no issues with the 2 and 4, as long as we don't have any issues.
Historically, when will it start to slow down, so we'll be out of the red danger zone?
It won't be until like November,
Oh, really, November?
because we've been staying warm through October and people keep running their systems.
Okay.
Rules and regulations.
I haven't been able to have time to get back at that yet.
and 477 West Ave.
I have notes that says it's going quiet. I'm trying to remember. Oh, that's the apartment building.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
apartment
building.
Yeah, they're like, some days I think they're not working and then you go by again and suddenly they're all there. They are working, they're just, and I know they did another fire flow test, so I don't know.
And we got the meter size got changed on that one, right? Wasn't that?
Yeah, I believe,
They wanted a bigger meter or something.
Right.
They came back.
yeah,
in.
they're
Well,
not
it
gonna,
requires a bigger meter, so.
Right.
That's what we-
yeah, they haven't come forward yet. Somebody in town was purchasing one, they were supposed to tell me who, cause they reached out to buy a Badger 2-inch meter, and I'm like, alright, we don't mark them up at all, and I don't care who you sell to, but it'd be nice to know who's getting it, and I'll prod them again too, to see who he sold it to.
Do we make sure there's lead free? I mean, I'm sure you
Yeah.
can buy hot meters out there that don't comply with the standards of,
Well, if he was buying it from a dealer though,
is he buying it from?
Yeah, he bought it from Styles in
Yeah.
Norwood.
Okay.
yeah, they're not gonna sell it.
No,
I'm just saying, but you can get things online that might
right,
not comply
but
with
still,
the
they're
standards.
older and have the lead in it.
Yeah.
So, and that's a good sized meter for,
Yeah. So I'm not sure who bought it. I'll prod them again and say, who did you sell it to?
Did we ever hear back from those people that were looking for us to do the sub-meeting for them? You said no?
Oh, the ones I know they made it through, I saw them going through the boards.
Is this South Main Street?
Yeah,
I
that's
think they're
the,
going well water.
Oh, really?
I heard something that they're going well water.
be surprised.
yeah, because
But
you
that many
come,
units.
No, I heard from a reliable source that they're going well water.
yeah, cause if he was doing directional drilling, which
Yeah.
I
Oh,
would
that-
thought would
yeah.
cost him a fortune,
Yeah.
I'm like, alright, you're making a mistake, buddy, but,
That's right, I think they were gonna have to drill under that road.
right. Well, they don't have to dire down the street for the, building that burnt down there, he went across the street for their sprinkler line. But I'm not sure that they're required to have a sprinkler line in
I don't think
the
they
building
are.
they are, so.
No.
He could get away with well water if he wanted, but he has to have, it's the 15-25, he has to be under the minimum amount of people.
So what is it with your regulation? Because there's something in the plumbing code for well water for.
I just remember the 15-25 and I think 60 days, I'll send it to you, but there is a if you're above a certain amount of people
Yeah.
on site, then you've gotta test your own water.
Yeah, there's
The
something with
same,
that.
very same thing that we have to do monthly.
Yeah, there's something with that code.
Yeah,
that-
you become a public
Water
water
supply,
supply
yep,
by default on your own.
right.
Right.
By the time you get done paying for all the testing, it's not even worth it.
No, because they'd be required to do every test that I do, so one PFAS test is $600.
Well, and that's the thing, if they hit down there and they have the PFAS hit right away, then,
Right,
you know, any money they think they're gonna save from the,
right, they're not gonna.
no. But yeah, because then they also want it, we're looking at trying to sub-meter to every unit.
Yeah. Even a well to produce, like he wanted a 2-inch line, to produce the water to fill a 2-inch line, a well for that's gonna cost him a fortune. It doesn't make much sense, but, I mean, he could be trying to do a well.
I think they went down a few hundred feet, so.
Where is that?
So it's, before Lucini's, right?
Yeah, you used to,
It's
remember the
the-
place that they were gonna put the storage place there years
Oh,
ago?
It's the
yeah, right
abandoned,
there?
Yeah,
Why would you wanna do that?
Bridgewater Tree Farm.
Bridgewater, yeah, thank you.
You want us to put a well instead of town water?
Yeah,
yep,
That's a waste of money.
And a lot of headaches potentially.
Yeah, well, you spend 3 times as much money and, have 10 times the headaches. He's gonna have to have a licensed person oversee it if he,
if it meets
If it
the
goes over
over the
that
threshold of so many
criteria,
people, right?
what they're gonna say, it's a contractor bay, they only come in and go out, and they'll claim to be under.
But you can kind of figure out with the design of the septic system, how many people it's designed for. You can
Well,
somehow-
it'll be designed for, if it's like contract office and bays,
Right.
it's per square foot, it's not per person. So you can't really,
But if he has more than like 15 people coming and going over the course of a year, because like a church falls under that, you don't have anybody there except for on Sundays.
Yeah, but it's
because that one day,
Yeah.
Sunday, it throws them off, throws them
Right.
in that whole regulation.
And that gets us down through all the listed stuff, except for the one that we're waiting for one person to come for. So, do you have something else you would like to bring up tonight? Dylan?
No?
Well, I'd like to mention what Wayne and the guys did for that catastrophic leak that we had a couple of weeks ago. I just want to say, I went out there the day that it happened, and the pipe, I mean, I've lived in the town all my life, and I never knew the conditions out there, that, the way that it was. I mean, they did a great job. I mean, shutting down the line from North Elm Street down to Mayos, cutting that valve in, after hours, with the help of a couple of highway guys, get the system up and running again. And then actually to locate the area in the swamp, it's a swamp out there. They did a fantastic job to get access to the property, to get access, and I think that's on our land. We own a little bit of land on the end of Mayos Ave, which is right on the boundary of one of the abutters, but
Yeah.
anyways, just to get in there with the equipment that they did, to do the job that they did, and not interfere with any of the water usage that we had in town, it was a great job. So I think you did a tremendous job on that, I just want to thank you guys for that. And I went there when you guys were working on it, there was no complaining, they just did their job, they made it work, and they got everything up and running again, and I think we're very fortunate to have guys like that that are dedicated to the town for the job that they did.
I wore a collared shirt one day, and we had like the worst day ever, and the guys told me never wear a collared button-down shirt again.
Wayne, but you did
This came so much worse. We
But
were
when you cut
so
the valve
close.
in, you went into the water with your work boots on.
I was
You didn't have
walking
any-
through the
You
swamp.
didn't have regular
with
boots on.
No, I went through the swamp.
Yeah.
The swamp was actually what destroyed them. I couldn't get the stink out. But it just had to be done. We were heading to zero.
Yeah, that was bad.
That is something that would be nice if we could come up with a way, because I know they have like the reverse 911 system. If we could get some way that we could, on something like that, get a call out.
And that was the time, the last time I had an issue. That's when it was a Friday, and I went to, I called the police to see how I get a, oh, well, it's the weekend, you can't do it. I was like, well, what good is that?
Really?
Yep.
I think we're very fortunate that it happened in the late morning, early afternoon hours as opposed to like 2 o'clock on a,
If it happened at
Morning.
night, yeah.
we'd have
Well,
been in trouble.
the last time that happened, it was Walnut Street when the snowplow guy hit the hydrant and took it right off and then buried it.
Yeah.
And like the phone calls started coming in, so there's something dramatic going on once the phone calls start coming
Right.
in. And that was another one where I heard it versus you couldn't see it, but I heard it.
Well, again, you did a great job fixing the leak, solving the problem.
So when I can't hear I got hearing aids. You guys should retire me out then because I'm not any good anymore.
We'll just buy you better hearing aids.
Yeah.
Did that get updated on the GIS map? We never really knew exactly where that.
We pinged it.
I mean, what,
Oh yeah, it got pinged.
huh?
Wake up ping. And we know where it is on the other end too.
No, but I mean, on the map,
Yeah,
you got the GS side.
The map is really close to what it is.
Okay.
It was really close.
That was just from the old wreckage, and
Right, but it came really close, like the drawing showed it,
Yeah.
and the two big trees that were growing on top of it, I'm like, man, it can't be there, but yep,
They were.
so I gotta send Chris.
we tried to find it years ago. I remember when we looked for it, and we couldn't find. We were looking for trees that were undersized for everything else, and we could never find it.
Was there
I was always late for the meeting, so I was gonna be late for
We
this
didn't
one.
look up the pipe that day, we probably should have taken the time to take a flashlight and look up the
Supposed to
pipe.
be right about where that.
Right where the
Right where the tree is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, now you get 2 gates.
Yep,
No, no, you're on TV.
at least one is operable.
I'll stay right where it was one way?
No, we should have looked that day, but we didn't. It might have been the 2 bee stings I got that affected me.
Well, you're looking into getting pressure sensors for that, so.
Yep,
find a few places around town we can put them to
Right.
get a little warning if there is a,
Right, because that one, the Parco looks for back pressure, and it truly almost shut down our system. We were close.
Dodge the bullet.
well, getting through all the rest of that stuff, we got one item left on the agenda. And Mr. Rick Kruger has shown up at the meeting. I know it's tough to get back after, you haven't had to show up on a Monday for a while. But, you would, all the stuff we talk about, the stuff that we do around here, all builds on things that you spent the last 44 years doing. The way the system's laid out, we were talking about the rates, you were involved at some level, whether working as a superintendent or as a water commissioner through all that time. And 44 years is an awful long time to put in to anything to do with the town, but that's a great amount of service, and we just thought it would be appropriate to present you with a plaque recognizing you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
I wanna
Because
say I appreciate the town allowing me to serve them for the 44 years. And if they say, find a job that you love and you'll never work a day of your life, I love this job. And I loved all my time here. I was here 7 days a week sometimes, and I loved it. It wasn't really a job. I loved what I did. I loved making good water for the town and trying to make the townspeople happy with what they had, with all the regulations that we had to work with. But when I came, we only had about 15 acres of land, and we had well fields. We didn't even have wells. And in my years there, I replaced every well in the place. And I had a great board, because for probably 30-something years when I was here, we had the same board. I started out with Eddie Azak, and then Donnie took over, so I've been working for an Azak for all those years. But we only had 15 acres of land, I'd say. Now you got over 200 and something. And we didn't have to, we bought it all pretty reasonable. This whole building was built for $125,000. And we built all the corrosion control buildings that you have. We built them all off our budget. So we got a lot of work done, and when I left, everything was paid for except for the iron removal plant, which only has a...
It's paid off.
It's paid now.
Yeah, it's paid off now, so, yeah, we accomplished a lot, and hopefully you guys can keep it going and keep it in good water, and yeah, I think the town's got a good system. So.
I agree, Rick. I mean, I've known you for years, and the amount of land that you bought for the town, in my house, for instance, and the land out back,
Yeah.
you did a great job. That's what you did. You bought land to protect the water that we have and to prevent anything from
And
encroaching.
we got future wells we
Yeah.
marked up, and we had the opportunity with Donnie and I, his father marked out, and the old water commissioners, where you got the tank up on Walnut Street.
Right.
And they had marked that as wanting to buy that piece of land 70 years ago.
Yeah.
And because that was the highest elevation in the town. And then we were able to do it. We actually bought the land, and then we got the grant to build the tank on it. And we only spent $1 million, and it cost us $3 million. So all those things, there was a lot of planning years ago, and we brought it, to completion. So,
Yeah, you did a good job. Thank you for
An excellent job.
Thank you.
That's what we wanted to thank you for that.
and thank you, Donnie.
Thank you, Vic. It was always a pleasure working with you.
It was a pleasure working with you.
And we did a lot together. We built this building, and we set the tanks, laid a lot of water main together. And we, I always knew that Rick always had the love in his heart for this department. And if we had a break at night, and when he was a superintendent, pick up the phone, and I don't care if he was down to his cottage, he'd come up here. Then we was fortunate to get Wayne to come in here, And Wayne's been a real asset to the water department, and Rick came back and been a water commissioner, and it's been a real good ride for all of us here, so.
Yeah.
We'll keep it going.
He's gonna be missed. I'll
Well,
tell you.
he already
Touch
is.
to him. No, really, Rick had a great love in his heart for this department.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming tonight.
Don't leave, because I want to take a picture of everyone. Don't leave so I can take a picture of everyone. It's almost over.
All right, that's the end of the agenda items.
Next meeting,
Next meeting will be the
Monday, August 21st.
21st, and that night is gonna have Tater and Howard here to basically go over all the ongoing projects and the schedules, especially that the PFAS long-term, we're gonna get them moving on. Anything else, Dylan?
No,
Ron?
None, I'm good.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 5:50.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank